Hello, my name is Kevin Tudor, and I'm one of the three hosts of Almost Major, a film podcast dissecting many major indie studios and the films they release. Every week, myself, Charlie Nash, and Bryden Doyle discuss overlooked, forgotten, or bona fide classic indie films via studio-specific miniseries. We've previously covered numerous films from Artisan Entertainment, Lionsgate Films, and New Line Cinema. Titles including The Blair Witch Project, American Psycho, Dogville, But I'm a Cheerleader, Saw, Requiem for a Dream, and Ringmaster, you know, the Jerry Springer film. Anyways, we have a fun time every week and we hope you will join us. Subscribe to Almost Major wherever you get your podcasts. Now proudly a part of the Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network.
Are you a film fan who loves the ultimate home video experience? Look no further than The Disconnected. Your host, Ryan Verrill, is your go-to source for the latest and most accurate information on home video releases, exclusive interviews with industry insiders and filmmakers, and has established a thriving community where every film and physical media enthusiast feels welcome. From hidden gems to blockbuster hits, The Disconnected brings you insider knowledge and a welcoming space to share your love of cinema. Watch every Thursday night at 9:30 Eastern, 6:30 Pacific for the live announcements show and follow The Disconnected on social media to stay updated. Subscribe to The Disconnected on YouTube or on the podcast provider of your choice and dive into a world where every movie night is an adventure.
Have you ever wanted to dive deeper into the horror movies you love? Beyond the Blood is a horror podcast for fans who want more than just surface-level screams. We do deep dives into the movies that shaped us, digging into director commentaries, behind-the-scenes stories, deleted scenes, and the special features that most people skip. Each episode is a love letter to the genre. We break down how these films were made, the creative risks that paid off or didn't, and the lasting impact they've had on the genre as a whole. From 70s slashers to modern nightmares, we celebrate the craft, chaos, and characters that keep us coming back. If you're the kind of fan who rewatches movies with the commentary on, or you simply grew up in the video store horror aisle, the Beyond the Blood podcast was made for you. New episodes every single week. Subscribe, and let's dig deep. Welcome to the Beyond the Blood podcast.
Welcome to the Shabby Detective, yet another Columbo podcast, as if there needed to be another Columbo podcast. I'm your host, Mike White, joined, of course, by Mr. Chris Dashew.
One might say I'm a woman under the influence.
Oh, we are talking tonight about the episode Playback. It is the 5th episode of the 4th season. It aired originally on March 2nd, 1975. It's 70 minutes, Chris. I forgot that there's a 70-minute episode in here, but I'll tell you what, this one feels about 2.5 hours to me. This one really missed the mark for me, but I'm curious what you thought about Playback, having been your first time seeing it, or so I suppose.
Yeah, boy. So all of the nice things that we've been saying this season may stop here for a brief moment. Yeah, this episode feels like a mix of things that we've seen already, but in a lot of ways, it reminds me of the Robert Culp episode from last season, where there was the camera aspect to it, or the video camera aspect to it, and then there was also the thing with not Chuck Connors, the dude with the projectionist. That was also a closed circuit TV thing.
Chuck McCann,
and now this is how it's solved finally. Is the closed circuit TV. Like, they've been edging us this whole time of closed circuit TVs. We're going to do it at some point. Oh, it's finally here. And it's so not exciting. It's such a disappointing episode that this is the worst episode of this season, without a doubt. This season has been, I think every episode this season has been pretty good so far, actually. This is the weakest one. And I think it stems from a couple things. I think it stems from Oskar Werner not really being of the same caliber of actor that we've seen up until this point, especially this season in particular. And also, again, to get back to the how catchem of it all. This is one of the lamest how catchems because, again, we've seen this before. We've just never seen them take it this far with this singular idea. And now that they have it, so this is why they haven't done this up until this point, because it's not particularly compelling.
It reminds me of the last Jack Cassidy one we saw where he was going around setting up his alibi like crazy.
It is 9:15. Man, if I ever do that, someone like the next day, someone should be like, yo, he's trying to fucking murder somebody. What time is it, my good man? Would you like to inform me? It's like, why are you saying this out loud so obviously? Are you trying to establish that you were somewhere at a specific time? Yes, you were.
And the other one it reminds me of is the one from the first season, Suitable for Framing. Again, very purposeful in setting up the alibi. When that one, don't forget, they use the electric blanket to keep the body warm and throw off the time of death. And then what does our main bad guy do? He goes to an art gallery. So I'm just like, oh God, I've seen the art gallery thing. I like the little thing in here, which again, probably could be cut. And I know they said that Falk actually rewrote the scene, but the scene where he's at the art gallery and he's going around looking at all the different art. And then he's, oh, this one doesn't have a label on it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, well, sir, that's the ventilation shaft. Wah, wah. And I'm like, it took a long time to get there. It really took a while to build up to this.
It did. I thought it was funny though, but to your point, it definitely is. It's a joke that takes too long to get to the payoff. And it's another one of, as we like to say, one of them goddamn Falkisms that this show just has sometimes. And that's just the reality of this show. We've seen it before. I think that this scene is better than a lot of the scenes that we've seen, but that's not saying much because most of them don't even get a laugh. It's just pedantic bullshit with Peter Falk just doing whatever he wants for 5 minutes. At least there's a funny gag in this one. And I think the gag works rather well.
I think that I agree with you that Oskar Werner is really not at the caliber of a lot of the other people we've seen, especially compared to Dick Van Dyke, or even last month when we talked about Robert Vaughn. Just so many good villains that we've seen. And Werner just doesn't hold water that well. And the biggest thing for me is I don't follow his motivation as closely as I do with other people. It just doesn't seem, okay, yeah, he's got the typical harpy mother-in-law that he wants to murder, that he does murder. The whole addition of his wife with Gina Rowlands, his wife, Gina Rowlands playing Elizabeth, I don't really get the feel for all of the relationships. And they take a while with this murder to set it up and everything. This is not one of those, oh, we got to get Peter Falk on screen within the first 5 minutes. It's not like last week where we see him on the, it's not like last month where we see him on the deck of the ship and talking with the purser and the captain and all this stuff. It takes a while before we get
20 minutes of an hour and 20-minute episode, essentially.
And I'm like, okay, I don't understand all of the relationships that are happening here. I don't feel like Martha Scott is nearly as shrewish as she should be. Like, I don't hate her. And
no, not at all.
I don't like him. I don't hate him. I don't like him. He's just there. Also, the spot on names too, with her being Margaret Midas. I'm like, okay, I guess she's the person who has all the wealth here and he wants to get that wealth. And also just that the big reveal is that the guy had a fucking clapper.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, God. Yeah. The clown in the chair, folks. They poltergeisted us. While not only is the way that the case is solved really just uninspired and so uninteresting, but all of the things that are introduced, all of the other avenues that end up just being cul-de-sacs for Columbo to end up in are so uninteresting, including what you just alluded to with the clapper. Like, the door opened and then the thing, it's like, oh my, I don't care. It's not enough. So we know this is not going to be enough. And on top of everything else, I already alluded to Oskar Werner not being able to really hold his own against Peter Falk. That motherfucker was guilty the moment Columbo sees him. This is one of the episodes where I'm like, this dude was hosed the moment Columbo started talking to him. When he's talking to the officer and Columbo sneezes, I've watched that scene a couple times now. It's not a sneeze. It's him like making like that's the way I'm interpreting it now that I've seen it a couple times, is him just like making like a raspberry noise essentially saying, bullshit, that's what happened. Oh, it's a sneeze. Okay.
Yeah. When he comes in and is just like, all right, let's see these cameras. Oh, the murderer just happened to not be captured on camera whatsoever. Is that about the most suspicious thing you've ever heard in your life? It is for me.
That's the other thing that's like the most obvious thing. The thing with the camera is so obvious, I don't even understand why they need to do anything else than that. He knew where to stand. There you go. Only 2 people would have known, and he knew. That's all you need. Literally, there's nothing. You don't need an invitation to an art gallery or anything. That should have been enough to hang that motherfucker by his neck. Like, and Columbo just goes, shouldn't there be 2 cameras? And then he doesn't go any further with that. I don't know. It's like this episode was written by someone who, or 2 people, Booker Bradshaw and David P. Lewis, who don't have, in my opinion at least, what it takes to write this kind of show well. And you know what? This is the first time they've written for the show. And I'm not going to go hunting down to see if this is the case, but I'm going to go out on a limb and say that they probably don't write a whole lot for the show if they write again.
Yeah, I'm not sure if they do or not. I'll have to look that up.
One would assume that when you have an episode like this, it's just not, for me, an episode that does anything well. All it really does is it has some great Peter Falk moments, but those aren't enough to carry an episode. And that's the problem. This is the only episode that was written, at least by Booker T. Bradshaw, who is also an actor.
And an executive at Motown Live show. And you can hear a little bit about that a few episodes ago when we spoke with Emily Hasty about her book. And she talks a lot about Tenafly in there. So he was one of the guys on there, as well as Booker Bradshaw. And I guess that's how they got in touch with Levinson and Link for this one. And yeah, it just did not work. Even the thing with the whole, here's what was on camera before and here's what's on camera after. We just saw that last season with the Dude in Black, or season 2, sorry, where we saw Gina Rowlands' husband, John Cassavetes, with the carnation versus not the carnation.
Right, right.
I've seen this all before. I just wanted to yell at the TV.
By the way, Booker Bradshaw was in Coffee, which is like a blast from the past.
Oh, boy.
He was the villain in Coffee.
I'm looking at his picture. Yeah, I remember him. Yeah, he's fantastic.
Yeah, it's a shame because the writing of this episode fails the episode so much. Bernard L. Kowalski has directed at least 1 or 2 episodes of the show. Like, I know he directed An Exercise in Fatality and at least 1 or 2 other ones. It's shocking to me because the parts of this episode that are good, I think for me, the best part of this episode is Gina Rowlands. Like, the shame about this episode is that Gina Rowlands is in this episode and this episode is not good. Like, really good in this episode. She is 100% the best part of this episode. It's the only time she's in the show. It's the only time she's in Columbo. And her husband is in a much better episode than she is. Not one of the best episodes we've seen, but in the top third. This is definitely in the bottom third of the episodes that we've seen. It would almost have been better if she was the one who had killed her mother, because then we would have at least had, we can go to that well with her and see her kind of like being manipulative, because that's the thing. Her character's played completely straight here. Her character is the sad woman in a wheelchair. Like, that's, oh, I know. It's such a fucking bummer.
It's like a stereotype.
I want to be able to do things for myself. Oh my God. Yeah, we know. It's so on the nose, like over and over again. They don't do anything interesting here. It's like they just, every opportunity that they're given to take the most obvious out, they take it. I mean, even to the fact of Trisha Noble playing a woman who may be having an affair with him, like with Oskar Werner's character. It's not, I mean, a couple glances is really all we get. But like, again, there's a hint at there being even more going on. And I'm thankful that they didn't go down that route, because I didn't need to see that, because that would not have added to anything. And if anything, it would have just given us 10 more minutes of an episode that's already an hour and 15 minutes. But like you said, feels like it's 2.5 hours. This is one of the longest feeling episodes of the show that we've watched. And it is not by any stretch of the imagination the longest episode we've seen. It's one of the shorter ones at this point.
I don't want to be mean to Oskar Werner, but at this point in his career, and he didn't live for very long. I think he died when he was 61. But by this point, he had been drinking pretty hard. And he looks like the contemporary of the mother rather than the contemporary of Gina Rowlands.
Yes.
Which also throws it off for me because thinking back to this episode, sometimes I forget that Gina Rowlands is even in this one. And then when I do remember, I'm like, but what did she have to do? Nothing. She has nothing to do in this episode. And she's just basically, oh, yeah, I'm the one that saw the door open. She's the linchpin to get this going. And I'm like, okay, why aren't you not like Leslie Nielsen in that Susan Clark episode where you suddenly figure out, oh, something might be going on here with my husband and I might have to cover for him and I'll lie or do whatever I need to. And then I have to be broken. This is the same year that A Woman Under the Influence comes out. We talked about that quite a few months ago. What an amazing performance. We know she can give these killer performances. Falk can give these killer performances. He does it every month here when we talk about him here on The Shabby Detective. Where is that? Where are the chops here? Instead, it's just so milquetoast. And like I said, I don't give a shit about Werner one way or the other. I don't hate him. I don't love him. It's not seeing Robert Vaughn screwed over or some of these guys where you just, oh, here it comes. Here comes the big moment. Oh, where's the moment for Dick Van Dyke to go over and grab that camera? It's just such a wet fart.
Yeah. And at the end, this is yet again another one of these episodes where the circumstantial evidence is so circumstantial, I genuinely don't think he would have been caught. I feel like he gets away with it. And he's so rich that he could. Look, is Gina Rowlands now never going to trust him? But I'm sure he could probably convince her that this didn't happen. There's enough circumstantial evidence here, is what this feels like. And that's on top of everything else. The best Columbo episodes are when he really gets him at the end. Like, he really gets him. Here, he doesn't really get him. He more or less admits that he did it, but not really. He's just like, take me to jail, which is fine. But Oskar Werner he doesn't play sad sack, which we've seen with the Donald Pleasance character. And he doesn't play like raging asshole like we've seen with the Robert Culp characters. He's just there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really feel like, again, it should have been Gina Rowlands as the murderer in this episode and getting to see this duplicitous nature of her where she is a woman in a wheelchair, but she's also conniving and cunning and able to make these things happen, even if she is in a wheelchair. And again, I'm not saying that as ableist or anything. I'm talking about the way this is portrayed in 1978 or whatever this is, or 75, where these kinds of characters are being played completely as stereotypes, which she is. Like, it would have been much more interesting if she had been the murderer, but there's no universe in 75 where they're doing that, unfortunately.
At least they didn't put her in peril, like there's a fire,
a woman in peril,
or she's going to roll down a cliff or something like that, like the famous scene that Paul Rudd likes to show.
Mac and Me.
Yes. At least we don't get that, but yeah, it's like, with Oskar Werner, you could, with that accent that he has and just the gravitas of this guy as an actor, he could have been a war criminal that is hiding out or something. I think he's a little too young for that, maybe, but I don't know. 1975, the war was 30 years prior. Maybe he could have done something. Like I said, he's looking pretty long in the tooth in this episode. I would have believed that he had done some shit in Nazi Germany and he knows about it, and eventually his mother knows about it, and her mother-in-law, and she's going to blackmail him. And when Gina Rowlands finds out what a horrible person she was married to, she has to give him up or something.
Anything would have been better than this. Anything would have been better than what we got here, which is just, again, for me, when you have an actress as talented as Gina Rowlands is, who every time she's on screen, and look, she just passed away recently. She's just recently passed away. She's one of the few actors who, when she's on screen with Peter Falk, she holds her own, if not upstages him. And that is something that they really pissed away, is what it feels like. Did no one see A Woman Under the Influence? Did you motherfuckers not see that? And you were like, Oskar Werner is that we know you do female villains in this show. You've done it already several times. So it's not that. I don't get putting Gina Rowlands in a wheelchair and going, this is good. This is enough. And then not even having her factor into the climax of the episode, really. Just having her sit there and kind of act surprised. Like, it is such an immense disappointment of an episode. because Gina Rowlands is in the episode. That's really what this feels like. And we talked about this before on this show and other shows, especially on something like Midnight Viewing, which we do with Father Malone. Oh, this is the only time XYZ actor is on this show. And this is a less than stunning episode. What a shame. This is one of those times because, again, like we've also already alluded to, Peter Falk and Gina Rowlands have a history together. And A Woman Under the Influence was a movie I have no interest in rewatching because of how good the two of them are in the movie. And every time they're on screen here, you can see that it's just the context of their characters should have been a little better thought out.
Yeah. Last month when we talked about an episode directed by Ben Gazzara,
right,
bringing in all the friends. You get Timothy Carey, Ben Gazzara, all these guys. I can't remember Fred's last name. Cassavetes, of course. You get all these guys. And yeah, this one is just, we'll have Gina here. Not give her a whole lot of stuff to do. Make her a fucking murder victim. Do something to give her more panache. And even when it comes to this idea of the gadgets, okay, you got the cameras, you got the dimmer switches, you've got the clapper. There's not a whole lot else.
And the watch.
This should have been like a whole fetish thing of his because we've already seen most of this stuff in these episodes.
Literally, we've seen this all before.
Exactly. The clapper is the only new thing, but I'm just like, if this guy's obsessed with gadgets, make him be obsessed with gadgets. Give him a fucking robot arm to play chess against, and then we can talk about Lawrence Harvey again.
Yeah, it's genuinely shocking to me that they go as hard into some of the things in this episode that they do with the technology, and then they just leave it hanging. Like you've already alluded to, and we haven't really talked about it, but the house that they live in is like a fucking smart house. Like it is the kind of house that would have been at like the World's Fair, where it's, look at the house of the future, like trick doors and like a safe room that you can control the entire house from. And it's all wired up with cameras in every room. It's like, this is literally what people have in their houses now in 2024. And yeah, they do very little with that on top of everything else. There's like a literal room from a James Bond movie in this house. It looks like a Ken Adams designed room. It really does. And they do nothing with it. They do nothing with it comparatively to the amount of time that they spend looking at the CCTV footage in the security guard's room, which is where we spend a lot of the how catch 'em of this episode. And them going 9:13 or 9:42. You know what? Hearing them repeat times on a fucking clock is not interesting episode. I don't care how many times you say it.
There isn't a lot of colorful characters in this episode either. Like we've talked before about the Vito Scotti when he's trying to sell him the funeral plots or the grave sites and things. It's okay. That can be all cut out. That's okay. But it's nice to see Vito Scotti in that.
It's just color.
Yeah. In this one, there's not a lot of color. Like I was expecting even just tell me more about the security guard. What's his background? Tell me more about the people at the art museum. What's their back? I'm getting nothing. I'm getting no Vic T back. I'm getting no. Oh, does this painting? Can you make this match my bathroom? Like Mrs. Kravitz in there. Those kind of things. I'm like, where are the colorful characters?
Yeah, and that's the thing. Even Oskar Werner's character, and then this is the thing I want to just really put out there. And again, like it's not Oskar Werner's fault. I don't think his character is like such a fucking nothing. Yeah. It's such a nothing character. He's almost like impish. And he paints a target on himself immediately, and he's pathetic the moment we see him. Mm-hmm. He's just pathetic. That's the word I would use. He's a pathetic character. And it doesn't really work because he makes himself look guilty the moment Columbo comes in there. There's nothing about this character that is remotely intimidating or you think this guy's going to get away with it. Like, he literally looks a sack of shit the moment he's on screen. Like, it's obvious that he's this pathetic, sad sack the moment he's on screen. And then you see, the mom's taking the business, the mother-in-law's taking the business away from him. And so he just pulls out a gun and shoots her. Like on top of everything else, like it's not even like we've seen so many creative ways for people to get murdered on this show. And this is just bang, I'm going to shoot her. I'm going to make it. I'm going to use the closed circuit TV to air false footage. Like, wow. Is that a trope? Is that a trope in things? It's gotta be, right? Looping the CCTV footage. What is this? Toys? What is this? Any other of these like multitudinous things where we've seen that a million times? I'm sure they've done it in at least one Marvel movie at this point, if not several. And here we are in Columbo seeing it, and they don't do it very well. it's not compelling. It's not a compelling position to put your episode in to have to resolve itself.
Even when it comes to the security guards, the guy who's watching the CCTV,
Sure.
he's watching it so avidly. And I'm like, do you do this every night, sir? Are you actually watching this footage every single night, just staring at these monitors? By this time, you would think he would have, I don't know, jigsaw puzzles or a newspaper or something else. And then that could cast some doubt on the guard was doing this, or the guard had to
X,
go
Y,
out and
Z.
he had a bladder infection and he had to keep using the bathroom or something. But there's nothing interesting. There's no, like, we've talked so much just in this season about the layering of the clues, one after another, and Columbo has to come in and just knock this one down. The way he gives people excuses and like, oh, what do you think about this? And then the person has to come up with their bullshit answer. And Werner does that a few times. It could have been this. Oh, yeah, I didn't think about that. But it's so low key compared to some of the other people. Maybe it's just, I don't know. It's like the register it's played in is like a minor key.
Yeah. Again, I have not seen Oskar Werner in anything else. So maybe that's just the acting stylings of him as an actor. But the character as he's written in this episode is so low key and so just, I don't know, again, like I said, impish, because the moment Columbo sees him, this is the guy who did it. It's so painfully obvious that this is the guy who did it. That's what I would say. This is one of the best examples of a bad episode because I'm not saying we as the audience don't know that Columbo knows immediately, but the best episodes are the ones where we see Columbo come to that realization. He's not just walking in from Deus Ex right and going, this is the guy. And that's this episode, like in a nutshell, is like the moment Columbo locks eyes with this guy, like, you're fucking toast, pal. He's got your number and there is nothing you can do about it. And yeah, I'm trying to remember the last time we saw one of these episodes where it's like, I guess the Robert Vaughn episode was like that, where it's like Columbo runs into him initially on the boat. But at least in that episode, Robert Vaughn does a lot to put himself in a position for it to be like, Columbo really has to nail him to the fucking wall in that episode. In this episode, this guy nails himself to the wall, and Columbo just has to look at him and be like, you did this to yourself, pal. Sorry.
Yeah, I think for Werner, the big titles for him are Jules and Jim, Fahrenheit 451, and then oddly, Voyage of the Damned. Those seem to be the big ones. Yeah. I was looking at his filmography and he was doing stuff back in the 40s and looking at a picture of him from Eroica in 1949. Had he been a Nazi in the war, I could have bought it. It could have been something more interesting. We're going to see an episode, I think maybe next season, where there is a war criminal and it plays so much better. When it's just
so you keep bringing it up because I was like, is this a thing that the show's going to do?
Well,
and so, okay. I'm excited now because that's interesting.
Yeah, it just makes more sense for somebody with that accent to have this going on.
Heavy accent.
Yeah, and that would have made him more interesting because, like I said, he's just so dull as a character. And I feel so bad that he's just that. Again, it's not Oskar Werner that we're picking on. It is the character that he's playing and just how poorly written it is and just how uninteresting the character is.
And on top of everything else, the motivation for why he's doing what he's doing is, I don't know how to put this, but generic. We've seen it before. We've not just seen it before. We've seen it plenty of times in this show. It might be the trope that they've gone to the most at this point of, I'm taking the business away from you. Donald Pleasance, we saw it there. We're seeing it here. Robert Culp.
With the football team.
And that's why we're probably forgetting a couple on top of everything else. It's the most generic place to go with this kind of character because, again, we're dealing with rich people and rich people having businesses taken away from them that make them a lot of money, I guess is reason enough to murder someone. And we've seen that over and over and over and over again on this show. And I don't need to see it again. I'm sure we're going to see it plenty of times before the end of the series again. But if they're going to do it, do something with it. Don't just do this.
Ross McDonald, going all the way back, I mentioned suitable for framing before. Ross McDonald thought that his uncle was going to give all of those paintings to somebody else, and that really made him mad, and tries to set up the aunt. She has nothing to do with it. Like, again, trying to pin the murder onto somebody else. Like, where's that aspect of it? That would have made this, again, more interesting. Like, setting up like Jack Cassidy, setting up like forces that are out there trying to murder people. And, oh, they tried to murder me, or the Requiem for a Falling Star. Oh, yeah, they killed my secretary, but they're really after this guy. And where is that? Like, where's the intelligence of switching things around and pinning things on other people or casting aspersions onto other folks so he's muddying the waters to make it a lot harder to catch him? Any other detective would have gone off on these wild tangents, whereas Columbo can just cut through those things. He has nothing to cut through in this episode.
No, Oskar Werner literally just shows up and pretty much paints a target on his forehead and says, "It's me. I did it.
Yeah.
I am the one."
Perhaps you might think it is another person, but it is obviously me.
Yeah. I will say, though, in the scene where him and Columbo are standing outside of the window and he has those sunglasses on, by Lord in heaven, I used to have a pair of sunglasses like those. I found them. I forget where I found them, but I found them somewhere, and they're clearly women's sunglasses. And I kept them, and I don't know where they are anymore, but I wish I still had them because they are a spitting image of those sunglasses he's wearing.
Funny.
And those are some wild sunglasses. They are, without a doubt, the most asshole sunglasses one could imagine. He looks like Willy Wonka from Tim Burton's Willy Wonka movie. That's the energy of those sunglasses. It really is.
I can see that. Even just like his suit where he wears the light shoes that go with the suit. It's like, all right, this guy's kind of a dandy. But again, he doesn't carry it nearly as far as he should.
No. And boy, if they had gone in that direction, this show would never do that. Not in 1975.
Yeah.
But there is also some of that.
That would have been way more interesting had he been having some sort of a gay affair at the time. Like, something that would, man.
That's not Columbo, though. That's Poker Face 2023.
Yeah, and his fellow cops, there's no real good interplay with the other officers. There's no, like, Officer Wilson here to question him. There's even Bruce Kirby 2 months ago when we talked about the military episode. There's not him going, oh, look at what I have to deal with this guy. Look at this weirdo out here combing the grass looking for stuff. What is this? None of that. These guys are just like, yeah, Lieutenant. Oh, you're getting a cold? Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. And where's that? Give me more of the cold stuff. He gets worse throughout the whole episode or something. You got Dog here. Dog barely has anything to do. It's like, come on, guys.
They added a lot of stuff, but they didn't do anything with him.
It's like that meme of the little figure with the stick poking at something going, come on, do the thing. This whole episode, it just felt like I was poking it with a stick going, come on, be good.
Be better than you are, which is not great. Yeah, and it's a real shame that it's coming in the fourth season because pretty much every episode this season has been really good.
Yeah.
And this feels like a season 2 episode. You know, the show hasn't gotten its feet underneath it yet. Like, it's still figuring out where it wants to go with things.
I think there were some more solid episodes in season 2 than there were with this one. This Etude in Black kicked off the first season or second season. Definitely better than this.
That's true. Yeah. Is this one of the worst episodes of the show? I think it might be. It's in the lower third, which would make it one of the worst episodes. I don't think it's the worst episode.
No.
I don't know. Gina Rowlands being in this episode and not being used very well is almost like an affront to. It would be one thing if she hadn't been in Woman Under the Influence this year. If she wasn't already Gina Rowlands in a lot of ways. Like if she was just, I don't know, Gina Davis circa 1982 or something. Okay, fine. She's early enough in her career, whatever. But there's none of that. This is Gina Rowlands as Gina Rowlands in a lot of ways. Yeah, that would put this in the lower quarter of the episodes we've seen, not even third, lower quarter, because I think that is a real big problem. And I think that is a genuine issue that this episode has.
Yeah. Well, we talk next month. We'll go through the whole season, which is pretty easy because it's just 6 fucking episodes. You'll remember then and you'll say, oh, Playback was probably the worst episode of the season. But when we talk in 4, 5, 6, 7 years and look back at Columbo overall, you're going to forget that this episode even exists.
Really?
It's that much of a meh. So is it that much of a meh, or does the show really get that? Is it also the show starts devolving? No, I'm saying that there are going to be much higher highs than these lower lows. Of course, there are some low ones. Like when we start talking about the ABC years, it's going to be like a race to the bottom, and it's going to be a real rarity that we see a good episode. And there's probably always going to be like, this could have been better. but overall it was okay. And then if you think back to something like Negative Reaction or Troubled Waters or By Dawn's Early Light, you'll be like, oh yeah, those were great episodes. And there's going to be some of those coming up in seasons 5, 6, 7, 8.
Well, and that's more what I meant. I figured, I'm sure that the highs will be high, but I was more alluding to the fact that the lows are going to be, I think, much lower.
Oh, yeah.
Than this. As much of a low as this is, I know, because I've just heard you allude to it and talk about it, that similarly to when Perry Mason came back, it's like some of those episodes are just not good.
Yeah.
And I don't know what to think about the show yet when it gets to like old man Peter Falk running around being Columbo, because I've never seen it, but I can imagine how bad this will get. Let's put it that way, because we've seen it with these kinds of shows, especially with the show that has a different writing team week to week, and even a different director, and even different actors in terms of the main cast other than Peter Falk. But yeah, I have no preconceived notions that this episode's probably really not that bad in the grand scheme of things, and I probably will forget how middle of the road it ultimately is, because I'm sure it is ultimately just kind of middle of the road in comparison to the whole show. And what is that, like season 5 or 6? 6 where we get to the ABC years? I mean, we still have one more season of the show, I think, right?
No, we still have quite a few, though. Season 6 is only 3 episodes. I want to say that the Universal NBC stuff was all the way to season 7. And then season 8 is when we start the ABC mystery movies all those years later. That's 89 when he comes back.
Wow.
And
okay.
Season 7 ends in 78.
Okay. So we have 3 more seasons of good Columbo before it becomes old daddy Columbo.
Yeah. I won't say they're all good. We're going to have our highs and lows, but there are some really high highs. Even with the first episode of season 6, that one is one of my faves. Hopefully you like it as much. Even with season 5, there's a couple in here where I'm just like, oh, yeah, that's a good one. And then there are a couple where I'm like, yeah, that was all right.
Like I said, this season, I think for the most part has been pretty solid. This is the one episode that's sticking out. I don't know if the next episode is that way. I know the next episode is George Hamilton and Leslie Ann Warren, some pretty big names, some pretty big people. I hope that they're used compared to the way Gina Rowlands is used here, but George Hamilton's not exactly the same caliber of an actor as Gina Rowlands is.
That's very true. And I don't think that Leslie Ann Warren's on screen for too long. And I don't know why I thought every single episode this season was in the 90-minute mark, because that's another one that's at 70 minutes. So if people were yelling at their podcast listening device that, hey, these aren't all 90 minutes, I apologize. I don't know where I got that idea from.
Well, and like you've already said, some of this, we are very lucky that there is not more of this episode, because this episode felt long enough as it was.
Yeah.
I didn't need to see another 25 minutes of this. Really did.
Until we come back next month, Chris, and talk about A Deadly State of Mind, what are you working on these days?
Everything that I'm working on, including all of our shows that are just being bombarded with ads, thanks, Spreaker, can be found over at weirdingwaymedia.com, where the stuff that I work on, the stuff that you work on, and the stuff that we all work on is kicking around over at weirdingwaymedia.com, other than this one little thing that you and I work on with our friend, Mr. Rich Haddam, which is Rankin' on Bond, which can be found over at mine and your respective Patreons, patreon.com/culturecast or patreon.com/projection booth. That's us talking about James Bond once a month. And if that's the thing you're into, you should totally check it out. What about you, Mike? Where can people find the things that you're working on?
It's really weird, but it's the same place, weirdingwaymedia.com. That's where you can find just about everything other than that Patreon exclusive at the $10 and up level. You can hear us talking about Mr. James Bond, the secret agent, and Mr. Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, who's doing way too much kiss for Patrick McGowan to handle, but it's not the last time we'll hear from about Patrick McGowan. Trust me on that one, folks. But yeah,
Patrick McGowan, baby.
Before we head out, I want to thank John Walker for our opening theme and Colin Gallagher for our closing theme. Colin's got more music over at Modern Silent Cinema. I think you can pick up almost everything that he's done on Bandcamp. Highly recommended. And I'm not sure if John puts out his music, but he's always good with the score. So thank you very much to those guys. Thanks so much to you, Chris, for continuing this journey of shabbiness with me. And thanks to everybody for listening. Always appreciate the feedback. Thanks so much for taking the time. If you could, leave us some rating and review over on iTunes. It really helps us out. And hey, now you can actually listen to this on iTunes if you're on an Android device. How crazy is that?
Pretty crazy.
Hello, filthy movie lovers. My name is Gentry Austin.
And I'm Casey Scott.
And we're the hosts of the Sin Syndicate, film podcast for something weirdos, anti-criterion bros, and Joseph Sarno aficionados. Join us semi-weekly as we peer into the adults-only theaters and sticky-floored cinemas of the golden age of sexploitation, when the morals were loose, the laws were murky, and the intercourse was all simulated. Find us now on the Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network.
Hello, this is Chris Haskell from They Live by Film. For those that don't know us, Adam, Zach, and we built a podcast over the last 2 years that's a combination of film discussion from 3 very different perspectives, as well as industry interviews with the leaders in boutique Blu-ray and 4K community. We started with Deaf Crocodile, but over time we've been lucky enough to speak with Arrow Video, Severin, Mondo Macabro, Vinegar Syndrome, Radiance, Indicator, most of the OCN partner labels. It's been a blast. You can find us wherever you podcast, and also actually recently as part of Someone's Favorite Production podcast network. We hope to see you online.